Good evening once again, and welcome to what used to be the Monday Review Show, and that's been changed now to, I think, what is a more appropriate title called The Ref's Opinion, because Law 5, which deals with all the duties of the referee, and part of that, it does say in it that in the opinion of the referee. So I think it's a more apt title and will from now on be known as The Ref's Opinion. No longer the Monday Review Show, The Ref's Opinion, but same content, same things we go through, answering questions and giving clarification on some aspects of the laws of the game. And we'll always have my very special guest, and has been now for a number of years, former Premier League referee, former FIFA referee, former head of the PGMOL. Those are the guys who look after the referees in the Premier League and the Championship, and the man responsible for introducing goal line technology. Keith Hackett, you're very welcome again. Thank you very much for joining.
Delighted to be on the show.
And a very good evening, not only, but a very happy new year to you and to all the viewers out there as well. Let's kick off with Liverpool's game, Keith, during the week. I put a video clip up on Facebook, which I couldn't believe the response to it, both written, people making comments, and also liking it. I think there were nearly 500 in total, either comments or likes on it. And it raised an awful lot of questions. Some said the foul should have been given from where it started. I mean, literally, he was wrestled to the ground, but kept going. Many other players, at the slight of a touch of a finger, will fall down on a given free kicks. In this instance, Ekitike from Liverpool was literally being wrestled to the ground, stayed on his feet, and got nothing. Did you manage to see it, Keith? And what's your opinion?
I did. I think that this was a clear foul. Let's make it quite clear. We're supposed to be watching football, and this was akin to rugby. And I think that's the cancer in the game that we talk about almost on a weekly basis. Referees allowing holding, pulling, blocking to take place without penalising it. In this situation, I think the offence started outside the penalty area and continued inside, and therefore a penalty kick should have been awarded. The offence continued, and in that sense, you then make the call at the point at which you blow the whistle, and that whistle is saying should have been a penalty kick. I think
quite a few people said that the incident started outside the penalty area and therefore should not have been. Well, it wasn't given anyway, but could have been a penalty kick. Now I know the answer, but maybe you'd like to explain it. Why wasn't the penalty kick given? The free kick given the moment the grappling and pulling started, rather than letting it go on?
Well, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the foul was continued. You can have a foot offence, and it's outside the area. That's pretty straightforward. The free kick is at the point at which the offence took place. What you had here was a holding offence that continued into the penalty area, and therefore you upgrade that free kick to a penalty kick. So that is and should have been a penalty. I've got to say, in this game, I'm critical of the referee. I'm critical of the match officials generally. However, there was another incident where Wirtz scored a goal, and I have to say that he received the ball in an offside position, a very tight offside call, which was brilliantly detected by the assistant referee, who raised his flag. Then what we had was VAR, as it normally does, checks the offside call. And the VAR came out and said that the goal was okay. the player was not offside. And I just was gobsmacked because I was watching this game live. I was absolutely gobsmacked. And I sat there, and then in the post-match review, Jamie Carragher from Merseyside said that he too was concerned that this was allowed. I mean, if you looked at the video screens, if you looked at the still, the player's offside. And then even if you look at the player, because sometimes players can give referees signals, their body language. And in this occasion, the player didn't over-celebrate. It didn't, in fact, look as though he was celebrating the goal he'd scored. I think in his own mind, he was concerned, if at least, that he was offside. So the goal was allowed. Today, we had what I consider to be an absolute gobsmacking statement coming out in the press, where the Premier League and PGMOL are stating that the semi-automated offside system, which, if you recall, I've been critical of on many occasions on this show, that they allow a 5 centimetre tolerance.
What does that mean?
Well,
5 centimetres, that's 2 inches in all my.
Yeah, it means that they've got a tolerance level. So instead of using technology, look, you're right. You often mention that I brought goal line technology to the game with Hawkeye. I've explained why I don't like the semi-automated system that operates in England. Again, as a reminder, the European system, the FIFA system, operates with the Adidas ball and a sensory system chip inside the ball that says when the ball is touched, that is the point it gives you accuracy in terms of the position of the players. And here, what they're doing is they're allowing interference because the technology is not good enough, because they've built in this 5 centimetre tolerance. And I find that appalling. When I went through that goal line technology, we went to 500 frames per second cameras. We increased the cameras from 3 to 7 in order to have no tolerance and to have only one thing: the ball identified clearly as passed wholly over the goal line. And that is the point at which a signal is sent to the referee that it's a goal. And that should apply with the offside system. Technology is about improving and gaining accuracy. So here we had an assistant referee in a good position with great experience, making what I consider to be a brilliant offside call, overruled by technology that actually allows a 5 centimetre tolerance. So the guy at Stockley Park, instead of going down the middle, goes, I'm going to bring in the 5 centimetre rule. He's onside. He actually, in pictorial terms, moves the player's position 5 centimetres. And we've had many discussions about toenails, toes, offside in this season, and that system has not changed. And now they come out and make this gobsmacking statement. I find it absolutely amazing that the board of directors of the PGMOL, who are stakeholders under the PGMOL is a service provider and all to the competitions, and we're about accuracy in lawmaking, and they're paying a huge amount of money for technology, the semi-automated system, and it don't work. In simple truth, why are you allowing a VAR operator at Stockley Park to adjust the screen or the position of the players by 5 centimetres? That is surely an unacceptable situation.
See, and where does the 5 centimeters start and finish, or is it anywhere within that 5 centimeters? Is that what they're saying?
Well, if they look at something and they're level, which is onside, they could actually say, we've got a 5 centimeter tolerance on moving forward. He's offside. Or they can say the opposite. Now, what they're actually saying is that 5 centimeter is to take into account the width of the lines that they're using on the technology. But again, come on, the technology is better than that. They're selling us AI. They're selling us 48 cameras. They're selling us a system that, in my opinion, is flawed. And it's not me that said that. I've said it. I've questioned some of the decisions in the past through knowledge, but then sort of thought, well, surely the technology has a better view than I have, a viewing angle, and it operates with greater accuracy. Today, that statement, I fell off the chair. I just can't. And there are other people in the game in different positions that are absolutely gobsmacked. I've had phone calls from senior referees across the world today discussing this particular subject and saying why. So I asked the question of PGMOL, why? And are you going to go back and review now? We're aware that you 5 centimeters. Where were you with the toenail offside decisions? Do you remain with offside, or do you actually move the 5 centimeters and make them more offside pictorially or in your own mind or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean,
and just want to spend, for people watching there, you might say, why are we dragging this out? But it's very, very important, because offside can decide whether a goal is scored or not scored, and one goal wins a game. So it can be crucial and vital.
Yes.
With Arsene Wenger now, who is the FIFA whatever at large, now he's talking about a different form of offside, that the player must be clearly offside to be offside. In other words, there should be daylight between him and the defender. But then where does that start? And does the 5 centimeters come into that as well? If he's clear, what does it mean clear?
No, because
he can score with including foot?
Let me make it clear that the European system, the UEFA system, the World Cup system that we're going to see in the summer, the semi-automated system that they use does not have any tolerance. The system that they operate has no tolerance. It delivers accuracy because it's got the Adidas chip in the ball that gives you no delay. It gives you an immediate picture, if you like, of where the player is positioned. Yeah. So it's only in the Premier League where they've adopted a new system that's an hybrid without the chip in the ball that's giving you this problem. When we get to Arsene Wenger, what Arsene Wenger is doing is what Philip Don, the first general manager of the PGMOL, before I took over, operated. And he operated an instruction to his referees and his assistant referees that he wanted goals in the game because that's what people pay. And he said, your thinking should be any doubt, the benefit of any doubt goes to the forward and not the defender. Yeah. And we operated that. And I think Wenger was around at the time in the English Premier League when we operated it, and he saw how successful it was. And at that time, then Blatter, FIFA came in and said, this has got to stop. This is not the law in the way we interpret it, and therefore killed off that situation. In the same way, we were operating, descent and advancing the ball 10 yards as per rugby. and we'd gone through that experimental phase. It worked really well.
Yeah.
But then he said, we're going to do this, but we want a caution before you advance the ball for the descent. And that killed that particular law, which no longer exists. So slightly diverting. The whole aspect of, I think what troubles me more about this is that this guy who was on the line and made this brilliant decision then faced the embarrassment of him flagging the goal offside correctly and VAR supposedly to intervene and check offside decisions, decide, no, you're wrong, Mr. Assistant Referee. This goal can be allowed.
You're watching the new name is the Ref's Opinion. It used to be the old Monday Review Show, and we go live at this time every night on Facebook.com. Keith, the amount of pulling and dragging, I mean, they're giving free kicks in the center of the field for the slightest touch of a finger and the player goes down, and the wrestling, and that's all it can be described as, the wrestling that's going on in the penalty area, and just the referees just seem to be turning a blind eye to it. What in heaven's name is going on?
Well, I think that they're confused. You know, I think this is a lack of leadership and direction.
Oh, courage! Could it not be courage, backbone?
Well, I think you know, I'm not doubting the referees that we've got don't have courage. I think that if you are like you pronounced at the beginning of the season, as Howard Webb did, that only the captains will speak to the referee. He's the front line of communication, and we didn't see that. We're going to add appropriate time, and we got 14 minutes and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And both those disappeared. Part of leadership is to announce what you want as the boss of the PGMOL, and then your guys carry that out. And if as a former international referee, World Cup final referee, he's unable to put that level of authority in, then he needs to move on.
Yeah.
The reality is we're seeing rugby inside the penalty area, particularly at corner kicks, week in, week out, go unpunished. However, there was one instant this week in which Gerard Gillett, the Australian referee operating on the English Premier League, penalised. And I've gone, great, you know. And therefore, I talked to a group of supporters today, mature guys. They watch Rotherham United. They're fans of Rotherham United, and they raised this issue. And why is it allowed to continue? It's allowed to continue because, one, Howard Webb doesn't police his referees. He doesn't give clear instruction that the law must be applied. And they continue to do this nonsense of going in, talking to the so-called offending players, come out, and then we get a continuation of those offences.
Drives me crazy.
It just, you know, we've really got some problems in the Premier League at the moment, you know, because, you know, I want to cover simulation because I don't know if you saw Amin Adli in a game involving Arsenal, where he just, you know, ran into a player, deliberately ducked down so the elbow of the opponent caught him. It was pathetic. It was absolutely pathetic. And so why no yellow card was given, because it was a clear attempt to deceive, is beyond me. And I think, you know, we've just got to, you know, in the Wolves West Ham game, a penalty kick was awarded, and it wasn't. You know, the referee awarded a penalty kick but the player deceived the referee.
Yeah.
He should have received a yellow card for an act of simulation. So
in that instance, I can understand where the referee gave the penalty and perhaps made a mistake. But looking at the pulling and dragging, it's surely one of two things. It's either a penalty kick to the attacking team or it's a free kick to the defending team. It's one or other. It can't be nothing. And I think I mentioned some time ago about where the players at a free kick have to be a meter apart until the kick is taken.
Yeah, sure.
Surely that could be brought into the corner kicks as well, that they have to be a meter apart until the ball is kicked.
Yeah, and I support that view. I'd like to see that being adopted by and discussed by the IFAB as an alternative, because at the moment the game is not being helped, and it's not helping referees either, because referees have been publicly shown to be weak.
Yeah.
But what it needs all the referees that operate under the PGMOL to say, this is what we're going to do, and then carry it out. But
then, Keith, surely that instruction should come from the head of the PGMOL.
Well,
should instruct. And this is what worries me also. I really firmly believe that the clubs have far too much power and influence over refereeing matters, so that the referees, unlike judges in our courts of law, who are paid by the government, but still act independently. Why can't the referees do the same thing? They're still paid by the FA, but still act independently and with no fear of repercussions. There was a Spanish referee I know wrote there recently on Facebook that he had sent off Cristiano Ronaldo when he was playing for Real Madrid, and he was visited by the head of the referees, who told him he shouldn't have done it, that people pay in to see Ronaldo and pay in to see these stars, and they want to see them on the field. So surely that's interference.
Yeah, I think that you have a very clear process within the PGMOL and the management structure, and in fairness, Howard Webb, and as I was, is given license to ensure that the laws are carried out, and those are generally supported by the board of directors. We don't have, in fairness, we don't have that level of interference in the game from the clubs in England, because of the structure that's in place, the PGMOL being independent, and therefore if any clubs have any problems, they are allowed to go to the PGMOL board of directors for discussion. So you're quite right. Howard Webb can say pre-season, I'm worried about blocking, holding, grappling inside the penalty area, and we are going to adopt a procedure that will see the award of penalty kicks and free kicks. We're not going to go in and warn. We're going to apply the law strictly. Are you all aware? Because he has meetings with every Premier League and every Football League referee, manager, and their coaching staff if they wish. So it's down to him. It really is down to him. And he then should say, as I've done in the past, whatever instruction I've given, if a match official goes against that instruction and falls outside the team ethic that we've agreed and the team policy that we've agreed, then I would have that referee in, and that's what I did, and say, look, if you're not going to apply consistently the approach in terms of the laws of the game and how they should be interpreted, and this is how we're going to interpret this law, the managers are aware we're going to interpret the law, and you do something different, then you're not refereeing next week. And it was as simple as that.
Yeah.
And so if you set a precedent or procedure of what you're going to do about certain situations, then you have to police it. And if someone doesn't comply, then you have to make that very clear to the individual. You're not complying with how we approach this game, and therefore, you're sitting on your hands next week.
What was the one I was looking for? Oh, yeah. We had, they say people who don't learn from history are destined to repeat it. Now, you remember the famous incident in the early 1980s where, what was his name? The Welsh Clive Thomas, yeah, blew the whistle as the ball was coming across.
Yeah.
Chris Kavanagh did the same in the, which game was it? A Bournemouth game, yeah.
Yes.
He blew the whistle. Now, of course, we must make it clear to people watching, he's entitled to do that. If the time is up according to his watch, he blows the whistle regardless of where the ball is. And on that instance in the World Cup, Clive Thomas was 100% entitled to blow the whistle if he felt the time was up. But he never got another game and he was sent home. In this instance, the ball was in the penalty area when he blew, or close enough to the penalty area, when he blew the final whistle, where generally they wait till the ball goes out and it's around the halfway line. Did you see that game?
I did. I thought it was a very, very poor decision, particularly when, the likes of Kavanagh operated when I was there, and therefore these types of incidents were discussed. And obviously the Clive Thomas World Cup Brazil situation where the corner kick was awarded and he blew as the ball was in the air. Yeah. And we agreed. The agreement was that we would bring to an end a game when the ball was in a neutral position. And let's just consider that. There's a degree of freedom in that expression. It means it's a goal kick, a corner kick, a throw-in, or it's in midfield. Blow the whistle to stop the game in a neutral position, not when there is an attacking opportunity and you blow. And this was against the spirit of the game, in my opinion. You're right. As I've explained today to somebody, it's his right. He is the sole timekeeper, and he's probably looking at his watch to determine it's the end of the game when he suddenly blows, and not looking at the game and the build-up and the position. For me, that's an error. And remember, this guy has been promoted to the elite level of the Champions League. He will get next season in UEFA. So he's one of currently 3 English referees that are now on the elite panel of UEFA. And so he better not make that type of mistake in Europe under UEFA, because they're very clear, I mean, often I was being accused of being a tough operator with my referees. The reality is Europe and UEFA are much tougher. You make a major error in Europe, you don't get a game for the remainder of the season.
Yeah.
And you might well get demoted to a different category.
You made a mention of late cancellations of football matches. Hull City v Watford, Sheffield United versus and Southend versus Truro.
Yep. Well, let us talk about the one Hull Watford. The players were out on the pitch. The players had done the warm up. The crowd were enjoying their coffee, and no doubt in the hospitality areas, they were enjoying the food and everything. And 8 minutes before the kickoff, 8 minutes before the game was kicked off, the referee calls an halt. He actually says the game's postponed, abandoned.
I
find that, absolutely unacceptable. He put down the fact that the area from the touchline to the perimeter wall, if you like, or fence or advertising hoardings was frosty or frozen. I mean, the questions I ask is this. He knows that Watford is a fair distance from Hull. He should be in the city of the match the evening before. He should be available from 7 a.m. onwards to do an inspection, and he must be aware of the time at which Watford supporters are going to travel. He will be aware that Watford are already on Friday night in the Hull area. They don't travel on the day anymore. And so he's now got to determine, in discussion with Watford, at what is the latest time your supporters will leave the match. And if there's any doubt at that particular point, he comes to a decision. Now, it might be, I'm going to delay my 9 o'clock inspection to 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. I will make a decision at that particular point. And if at 11 o'clock you say the game's going ahead, it goes ahead. Now, the referee will liaise with the police, because what they will do, of course, part of the role is you're event managing here. You're doing an inspection of the perimeter area of the outside of the ground to make certain the gates are not filled with snow or ice. And if there is a problem, you get the local council in and they start to work on it, because it's an event. The police are on ready, the police are on duty. So you're looking at costs here, as well as the game itself. And, I always say to referees, if you're going to cancel the game, cancel it early and avoid unnecessary travel. Or, if you say the game's going ahead, I really do want you to make the game complete. Of course, we've had 1 or 2 games cancelled late into the game because of waterlogging and real downpours that have created a problem. But with ice, you can treat it, and therefore there's a very clear process. Think of the spectators who've spent a great deal of money travelling. The club itself, may not operate a ticketing system, i.e., you pay on the gate. They've got to then refund that money, and that might seem easy, but it ain't. It's great if you're buying all your tickets online. You can accommodate that, but there are people who do pay on the day. So I think there's, I think it's a nonsense. In Southend versus Truro, that game was also put off late. The fans of Truro had done it effectively. Were doing a 600-mile round trip.
Yeah.
Sheffield United versus Oxford was called off late. This, Sheffield United, Oxford, Sheffield United, Bramall Lane have undersoil eating. So again, if it was the periphery that was causing the problem, just get the wheelbarrows out and a bundle of sand in it and spray the sand to overcome the problem. I just want the mentality of referees to say, I've prepared all week for a game. Fans have prepared all week and they've travelled to a game. We want the game ahead. But I think we're getting overzealous with health and safety and all the woke situations that carry on.
Well, way over time again, Keith. So many things to discuss. It's fantastic having you. And we start a whole new year, and thankfully you'll be available to us every Monday night. I just noticed on the banner on the bottom there, it's still saying the Monday Review Show, so I will change that to what it now is, the Ref's Opinion. Thank you out there also for watching and sticking by us all year. Keith, thank you very much again for your time. And we'll do it all again next Monday, same time. It'll be the Ref's Opinion on facebook.com/Hanging Judge Ref, 8 p.m. Until then, good night and God bless you all. Thanks, Keith.
Good night. Thanks.